school to buy illicit drugs.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes and non-toking lovers of liberty. It is Tuesday, April 7th, 2015, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us here for the next 2 hours of news, interviews, information, music, talk, and opinion, all by, for, and about the cannabis community. We're here live every weekday at 3 p.m. Pacific time on 420radio.org and TuneIn Radio as well. Or you can catch us on demand at Stitcher Radio or iTunes. You can make your subscription to the first hour of our podcast. The second hour, though, is just for you live listeners and for you VIP members who support 420radio.org. You can get your download of the second hour only from 420radio.org. Coming up on the show today, all sorts of great stuff. We've got Joseph Van Dyke joining us. He's from Michigan, and he's with one of the groups up there fighting for marijuana legalization. He's going to tell us a little bit about the hash bash and what the plans are for legalization in Michigan come 2016. Also on the show today, we'll have time for a radical rant, and I get to make a great announcement today that I have just signed a deal with High Times Online, that's hightimes.com, to provide for them a twice weekly opinion column. You'll find it on Tuesdays and Fridays at hightimes.com. Today's inaugural edition is already up online, and the question is, what's your legalization deal breaker? That is, what is it that they could put in a marijuana legalization initiative that would be so odious that you would not vote for it? I'm hard pressed to think of anything, but if you want to chime in, we'll be talking about that at the end of the show in the Radical Rant, and then we'll take it into hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. Our toll-free number is 84-420 radio, and you can make your opinion known. Also, visit hightimes.com. You can click on the article, add your comments in the comment section, or just send them to me by email, russ@radicalruss.com. Also on the show today, we'll take time for some drug war data mining. Chris Goldstein out at Freedom Leaf has a great article up on the next states to legalize marijuana. So we'll be looking forward to 2015 and 2016 and showing you which states have the best chance at voting on legalization. Also, we're going to go behind the headlines where there was a terribly stupid and criminal stunt in Boston, Massachusetts regarding Easter that is the kind of thing that can cost you votes when you're trying to get legalization in the Commonwealth. So we'll talk about that and tell you what horrible thing went down over the Easter weekend in Boston, Massachusetts. All that comes right after the 420 radio news. In the headlines today, we've got news from the Arizona Supreme Court ruling on medical marijuana use on probation. We've got Iowans begging their legislature for some form of medical marijuana relief. We've got that poll from Quinnipiac showing support for legalization in Florida. We've got a Louisiana State University survey on Louisiana residents' attitudes toward marijuana reform. And University of Mississippi Medical Center saw a rash of spice overdoses, that's that synthetic marijuana crap, happening in Mississippi, probably because they can't get their hands on the real thing. Also, in hour 2, we've got some other topics we're going to cover. Rand Paul is announcing his bid for the presidency of the United States today. We'll talk about what that means for marijuana reform on the 2016 campaign cycle. Also, we have got some more news coming to you from Ohio, where some advocates think legalization would hurt medical marijuana. We're going to tell you the story of how Harry Anslinger, our first drug czar, stalked and killed jazz singer Billie Holiday. And should parents who smoke out little kids be narked out? We'll talk about that. Plus, we'll get your Electric Tuesday Daily Toker Tune. Electric Bob's bringing us some music from Capsula today. Boy, it's a jam-packed show. Thanks for joining us. We better get right to it. Stay tuned. The news is next, right after these sponsor messages.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
420 Radio, the activist radio station. Are you tired of storing your herb in back alley baggies? Then keep your herb fresh and protected with Pottles. Pottles are airtight and odor-free. Not to mention they're reusable, BPA-free, and UV-resistant. Pottles come in a variety of sizes, styles, and colors, so go check out Pottles at mypottles.com. Use the code STASH to get an additional 10% off. Again, that's mypottles.com, mypottles.com, and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Connect with 420radio.org through social media, on Twitter at 420radio.org, and our Facebook page at 420radio.org. Follow us and like us today. You'll be glad you did. Support for 420 Radio comes from Kick-Ass Cannabis and Veggies, a guide to gardening with nature, authored by Kip Zonderkopf. Based on the ethos that a living soil is the foundation of a thriving garden, Kick-Ass Cannabis and Veggies is your guide to naturally growing resinous buds and nutrient-rich veggies. Get the ebook now with instant download at kickassorganics.com. Previews available on Amazon, iTunes, Nook, Google Play, Kobo, and many other online retailers. It's time for the 420 Radio News, covering the latest headlines in consumer cannabis, medical marijuana, and industrial hemp. Transcripts of 420 Radio News are available daily on our website at 420radio.org. Now, here's Russ Belville with your marijuana headlines in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. This is your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, April 7th, 2015. The Arizona Supreme Court today issued 2 rulings banning courts and prosecutors from denying marijuana use as a term of probation if the convicted felons have valid medical marijuana cards. In one case, a man convicted of possessing marijuana for sale in Cochise County was forbidden from using marijuana by a probation officer after he was released from prison. In the second, a woman pleading guilty to a DUI in Yavapai County refused to accept abstention from marijuana as a term of probation, prompting the prosecution to withdraw the plea agreement. Both had valid medical marijuana cards. The Supreme Court ruled that both had the right to use marijuana for their medical conditions and that prosecutors and courts could not block that right as a term of probation. Iowans suffering from cancer, post-traumatic stress disorder, and many other ailments rallied at the Iowa Capitol today in support of medical marijuana as a crucial vote nears in the Iowa Senate. Lawmakers are expected to debate Senate File 484, which would legalize medical cannabis in the coming days or weeks as advocates push for action on the issue. A crowd of about 75 people cheered as Maria LaFrance of Des Moines said a solid vote on the legislation in the Democratic-led Senate would send a message to the Republican-controlled Iowa House that it should also take up the bill. The Senate bill would allow the use of medical marijuana for a host of conditions, including cancer, multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other chronic and debilitating ailments. The proposal would allow up to 4 producers to grow marijuana in Iowa with oversight from state officials. It would also allow independent dispensaries to sell the drug. Republican House Speaker Craig Paulson has repeatedly said he has no interest in debating medical marijuana this session. In addition, Governor Terry Branstad, also a Republican, has opposed widespread availability of medical cannabis, saying he fears unintended consequences of such actions. Florida voters overwhelmingly support legalization of marijuana for both medical and recreational use. Medical marijuana was supported by 84% and opposed by 14% in a Quinnipiac University poll released yesterday. Recreational use of marijuana was supported by 55% of those surveyed and opposed by 42%. Support for medical marijuana spans the political spectrum, 92% among Democrats, 87% among independents, and 73% among Republicans. There are big differences on legalizing recreational marijuana depending on political affiliation, however. Legalization for recreational use is supported by 70% of Democrats and 63% of independents, and opposed by 67% of Republicans. Louisiana residents, for the most part, have a much more relaxed and tolerant approach toward marijuana than current state laws reflect, according to findings from a statewide survey conducted by Louisiana State University this winter. Most people surveyed, 52%, still oppose legalizing marijuana for recreational use, but the gap between those who don't want to legalize recreational marijuana and those who support it, 45%, is shrinking. In 2013, the gap was 14 points. Now that gap has shrunk to just a 7-point difference. A large number of Louisiana residents, 60%, support legalizing medicinal marijuana, though that lead has shrunk significantly since last year when 79% of people said they supported it. 2/3 of Louisiana residents, 67%, do not think people should go to jail for possessing a small amount of marijuana as they do now under Louisiana law. LSU found that Louisiana's state and local government spends around $7.5 million annually on putting people who possessed a small amount of marijuana behind bars. Medical experts at the University of Mississippi Medical Center are stressing the dangers of using spice, a synthetic but very potent form of marijuana, after more than 24 people were treated for adverse effects of the drug over the Easter weekend. About 26 people since Thursday night have been seen at the UMMC's emergency department for symptoms of spice overdose, and the drug is suspected of causing the death of another person, said Dr. Robert Ghali, a professor in the Department of Emergency Medicine and executive director of Telemergency. Those seen at UMMC's emergency department displayed agitation, sweating, hyperactivity, hallucinations, acute psychosis, and in some situations were in a comatose state. All are residents of the Jackson metropolitan area. This has been your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, April 7th, 2015. I'm Russ Belville. .420 Radio, the home of marijuana experts. Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
If you're an adult who enjoys a good beer, there's a similar product you might want to know about. One without all the calories and serious health problems. Less toxic so it doesn't cause hangovers or overdose deaths, and it's not linked to violence or reckless behavior. Marijuana. Less harmful than alcohol, and time to treat it that way. For more information, visit marijuanaissafer.org.
The Fingerboard Extension has fretted instruments to enhance your creativity. It has new and used guitars and banjos from beginning to high class. The Fingerboard Extension has National Resophonic, Husson Dalton, Larrabee, Heritage and Recording King guitars, and Mike Ramsey, Wildwood, Gold Tone, and Recording King banjos. The Fingerboard Extension also has drum stuff, used gear, and parts. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension, downtown Corvallis, Oregon at 120 Northwest 2nd, or check out the inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com and reverb.com. Welcome back, everyone. 13 after the hour. Time for us to go behind the headlines, where there's a shocking story coming out of Boston where there was a medical marijuana Easter egg hunt giveaway. And a lot of this went down through a couple of Instagram accounts. One Instagram account for a group called Canimals, Cannimals, Canimals, that is a medical marijuana provider. Now, it's interesting here because there aren't actually any licensed medical marijuana dispensaries that have opened up yet. Really, the most accurate way to describe these guys is distributors that are not operating within the parameters of the state's medical marijuana program. That's according to Matthew Allen, the director of the Massachusetts Patients Advocacy Alliance. So it's another one of these situations. We find this in medical marijuana states where the regulations are behind the market. Right. There's already people that are providing medical marijuana services, and apparently this Canimals was one of them. And they were called out by another group known as the Boston Bake Shop. And what happened is this Canimals group apparently or allegedly hid edibles, medicated edibles, and vouchers for its products inside plastic eggs over the weekend for an Easter egg hunt around the city. This is when the Boston Bake Shop found one of these Easter eggs and wrote on their Instagram account, "Thanks for the treat, at Canimals. Be careful with this kind of stuff. There were a ton of little kids at the Arboretum today. That's right. We're not talking about hiding medicated edibles inside of Easter eggs at some sort of dispensary Easter egg hunt. These were hidden out in the public, out where little kids could get at them, apparently. The story originally has Canimals. There's another, and again, the Boston Bake Shop on Instagram, if you want to find all of this information out, posted another picture showing a medicated gummy that looks kind of like a dinosaur and a medicated lollipop. And they wrote, just in case anyone thought there was only a voucher in the Canimals giveaway egg, 2 edibles and 1 voucher for 20 cereal treats was found in the egg found at the Arboretum, an area frequented by literally dozens of children today. One of those children was my 2.5-year-old daughter. Ridiculous stunt for sure. And Canimals is trying to defend themselves. The Canimals folks on their Instagram feed wrote, to all those who cannot read, we left vouchers in the eggs, so kindly get fucked. But again, Boston Bake Shop says they found eggs that had more than just vouchers in them. They actually had medicated edibles in them. And here's another one. Boston Bake Shop writes, one of the other Canimals eggs found with a lollipop inside. Why would there be a lollipop sticking outside of it if it was just a voucher? The egg I found had 2 edibles and 1 voucher inside with a bunch of little kids hovering around it. Poor stunt indeed, Canimals. So this is the kind of thing that can really cost you some votes when we try to go about legalizing marijuana in Massachusetts in 2016. We've got, a large number of soccer moms and NASCAR dads, these young parents, this, what we call the saddle. When you talk about the polling on marijuana, it's kind of a saddle. It peaks when you get to young people, 18 to 29. They have the most support for legalization. And then when you get to the older folks, when you get to folks my age in their late 40s, early 50s, maybe even creeping up on 60, those people, empty nesters, you might call them, have a great support for marijuana legalization as well. But there's this dip when you get in the childbearing years. When you get from age 30 to age 40, you find the lowest support for marijuana legalization except for like the senior citizens, way off past 65, right? So it's kind of a saddle, if you can imagine that. So if you are trying to bring that number down among the childbearing age folks in Massachusetts, this is the kind of stunt that's going to do that. There are people who really don't care if marijuana is used by adults in the privacy of their home, and they're fine with that, live and let live, mind my own business kind of thing. But if you threaten their children, they are going to turn against you. And the idea that someone purporting to be a medical marijuana distributor would then pull such a ridiculously reckless stunt as placing medicated edibles in Easter eggs where kids could get at them, you almost wonder if they're agent provocateurs. You almost wonder if they're put there by the cops, by the opponents of marijuana legalization to try to make us look bad. I am very concerned about this because I am a student of history, and I know that there was a huge swell of support for decriminalization in the 1970s, and that wave was stopped in its tracks as soon as parents got the idea that legalization was going to hurt their kids, that decrim was going to hurt their kids. They appeared on TV with the gas mask bongs and the scare stories of what would happen to their children if marijuana were legalized. Don't think it can't happen again. Just because we've got some momentum on our side, just because we're 4-0 in the last, or I should say 4-1 in the last 2 elections, 4-2 in the last 3 elections when it comes to statewide legalization, doesn't mean that pendulum can't swing back. And if we get more stories like this, more stories, and it's just, to me, I'm stunned that the legalization of the flower could be stopped in its tracks by making it into candies, by making it into edibles. I'm not much of a fan of edibles myself. I'm kind of shocked that it's become such a big market, especially in Colorado, among people that are using cannabis. And I fear that we're going to have that pendulum swing back the more of these kind of stunts happen. We need to police ourselves before we start getting policed for ourselves. We need to start holding these kind of people to account and letting them know that responsible cannabis consuming adults like us don't appreciate companies like them trying to take advantage and doing a stupid PR stunt that can only backfire and make it tougher for us to end adult marijuana prohibition.
All we want to do is pump you up.
And I don't want to get into that paranoid feeling that COINTELPRO, all that kind of crap, but are they really pulling out all the stops right now? John Thomas, is that what's really happening? Our chat room thinks that this could be agent provocateurs. I don't know. I think there's plenty enough stupidity for this to have been just that. Hey, happy 420 Denver. We'll be back with the next states to legalize marijuana in the drug war data mine. 420 Radio, fighting prohibition since 2012. Get.Buzz. .Buzz is the internet platform that fuels community interest, excitement, and new experiences. .Buzz is the premier online destination for internet users seeking the latest news on a variety of topics. .Buzz appeals to groups active in blogging, communications, journalism, advertising, and marketing. .Buzz offers registrants a stronger alternative to the shrinking namespace of existing top-level domain names, such as .com, .net, and .org. Get your name now at get.buzz.
Big Daddy thinks.
What's happening? Big Daddy here, and I want you cool cats to come and chill over at my pad, the Funky Roller Ring.
Oh yeah.
We'll be grooving every Thursday night, right here on 420 Radio. Funky Roller Ring.
What can I do when you got me going? You got me going. Hey, you got me going.
Are you in the market for portable vaporizers now? Get online to vapes.buzz, the quick and easy link to portablevaporizers.now.com. Vapes.buzz has everything you are looking for, including vape pens, herbal vaporizers, e-juice, parts, accessories, and more. Visit vapes.buzz and use promo code 420radio to get 10% off your online purchase, or just give them a call at 866-264-2415. Vapes.buzz. Get vaping, baby! Arguing for the end of adult marijuana prohibition is easy because we have facts, science, reason, compassion, evidence, truth, and logic on our side. It is even easier when researchers catalog it all for us. Learn how to gather the facts on marijuana use, arrests, seizures, rehabs, drug tests, and more in this edition of Drug War Data Mining. Welcome back, everyone. 23 after the hour. Today in the Data Mines, we're turning to the great magazine Freedom Leaf. And if you haven't heard of it, it's brand new. It's just got its 5th edition out, and it is the good news in marijuana reform. You can find it online at freedomleaf.com. You can find the print edition for free at your local normal or SSDP chapter and at a dispensary, head shop, or bar, restaurant, tavern near you. I'm happy to be working with the folks from Freedom Leaf. I'm contributing some articles for them. My article on Native American legalization will be in issue 6 next month. And if you're in the Portland area and would like to distribute some copies of the Freedom Leaf magazine, please let me know. Just email me, russ@radicalruss.com, and help me get some of these boxes out of my garage. Anyway, the story today is from Chris Goldstein, the man who created my career, and it is entitled State by State, the Next Big Moves for Legal Marijuana. And it points out that coming up in 2015 and 2016, we have got a big chance to tip the scales in favor of marijuana legalization in a number of states, including Nevada. This is the one we're absolutely sure of. Nevada will have a ballot initiative for 2016. The legislature could have passed the bill itself, but decided to pass it on to the citizens. It was a ballot initiative, so if the legislature doesn't pass it, then the citizens vote on it. This will be a flat 15% excise tax on the wholesale supply of marijuana. all of the tax revenue would go directly to education. And we're looking forward to seeing that law be voted on in 2016. California, of course, will be trying to pass marijuana legalization in 2016. They've got a few groups that are fighting to get on the ballot. Probably the leading group right now is Reform California. You can find them at reformca.org, I believe. They're endorsed by California NORML, among others. But there's also the California Cannabis Hemp Initiative, CCHI. There's MCLR, the Marijuana Control Revenue Legislation Act, and there's also CACI, the Cannabis, I can't remember what CACI stands for. That's Omar Figueroa's group that will protect the growers in Northern California. In Massachusetts, they have got a good shot at legalization in 2016, but the lawmakers there are trying to beat them to the punch. House Bill 1561 was crafted by more than a dozen legislators from both parties. It would allow home grow and create a retail industry. It would have a flat excise tax on $10 per ounce, rising to $50 an ounce in the fourth year, and specific taxes on edibles and oils for by potency, $2.50 for every 10 milligrams of THC. That tax would rise to $10 per 10 milligrams of THC. However, trying to get this through the legislature in Massachusetts is going to be difficult because their governor, Charlie Baker, opposes legalization. So it just may have to go to a ballot initiative. Now, the past two presidential elections, 2008 and 2012, Massachusetts passed both decriminalization and medical marijuana with votes higher than 60%. So there's a really good shot if they make the ballot, Massachusetts will pass legalization. Texas, believe it or not, is on the radar as far as marijuana legalization goes. They've got some great NORML chapters down there. They have bills for decrim, medical marijuana, industrial hemp, full legalization, and even deregulation. Take marijuana out of the law books entirely. Now, Texas doesn't have any ballot initiatives, and a lot of states don't. So this will have to go through the legislature, and we are not sure what the chances of that may be. There is an effort to pass legalization in Mississippi. Yeah, believe it or not, Mississippi, they need to collect 110,000 signatures by December. They've got a financial boost because the president of Medical Marijuana United in Florida has pledged $2 for each certified signature they collect. So he'll fund the campaign, $2 per signature. They are trying to get trying to get the legalization happening there in Mississippi. Mississippi, one of the only states in the South that has a ballot initiative process. Pennsylvania is fighting for medical cannabis. That's Senate Bill 3. Although it has been watered down, it was a whole plant medical marijuana bill. It's now turning into one of those CBD oil type bills that excludes smoking. The governor there, Tom Wolf, is in support of medical marijuana and decrim. They've also got an industrial hemp farming act that they're working on, and a full legalization bill that would put cannabis in state-operated wine and liquor stores. Pennsylvania is one of only 2 states that continue to have state-run liquor stores. Ohio, of course, we've told you many times about Ohio. 2 separate groups offering plans for legalization. Ohioans to End Prohibition have just started their signature gathering phase for 2016. Responsible Ohio has got their signatures going for 2015, where they plan to have a 10-member grow cartel growing for the entire state. Rhode Island has bills in both houses for full legalization coming up in 2016. Vermont undertook a study for full legalization. They've filed some bills for this year. Maine is looking at the possibility of a marijuana legalization initiative for 2016 as well. And we also are paying attention to bills introduced in Maryland, Connecticut, Illinois, Missouri, New York, and New Jersey. Most of these bills would allow legalization of personal possession and home cultivation.
420 Radio, your ticket to the Boston Freedom Rally.
Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Very effective. Check out lushledlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson for Normal. And I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting those who smoke marijuana responsibly. To learn what you can do to help, contact Normal at norml.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORMAL.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com. The cannabis community is a diverse set of people from all walks of life, conservative and liberal, black and white, straight and gay, rich and poor, and everyone in between. Learn more about the people we are freeing from adult marijuana prohibition in our Cannabis Community Chat.
Welcome back, everyone. 31 after the hour, and scheduled for today's Cannabis Community Chat, we were to have Joseph Van Dyke joining us from one of the Michigan groups. I'm still waiting for his call. Haven't gotten any response from him from email, so I'm going to take a little time here and see if we can get him back on the line. Otherwise, we'll come back with our radical rant on what's your legalization deal breaker. We're doing it live right here at Rolla J Studios. Thanks for sticking with us, and you know how it is. Sometimes we're just unable to raise the person that we had booked, but we will try. Joseph, if you're out there, if any of the Michigan people are out there, let Joseph know I'm trying to reach him. Hopefully we're back with Joseph right after this. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
420 Radio, freeing your mind 24 hours a day. You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com and follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter.
Continue the conversation with Radical Russ online. Visit radicalruss.com and email radicalruss@gmail.com.
Science! Well, folks, doesn't look like we're going to be able to reach our guest today. We'll reschedule Joseph Van Dyke for another time, talk a little bit more about the prospects of legalization in Michigan. So in the meantime, I'm going to turn you over to some comedy while I get ready for the radical rant. Our good friend Ngaio Beelam's album is entitled Weed and Sex. You can pick it up on cdbaby.com. If you've not seen Ngaio perform, you need to. And if you can't, go buy his album. It's only $4.20. Here he is, the master cannabis comedian, Ngaio Beelam.
I love marijuana. I do. It makes me a better parent. Right? Because I don't hit my kids. I'll talk to them 3 or 4 hours. They probably wish I would hit them. Like, Jesus, Dad, you're still talking. Can I get a spanking? Is that cool? Violence won't teach you anything, man. We got to get to the bottom of it. My kids know I smoke weed. They don't care. They know when they smell weed, we're going for miniature golf like 20 minutes. So find your shoes. They know that thanks to the beauty of marijuana, Dad will take them to any fucking animated feature ever. What? The panda knows kung fu? Shit, get in the car. Let's go. The rat's gonna cook. Come on. You guys go get the tickets. Watch for cars. Look out. What was I talking about? Weed? They say marijuana makes you forgetful. Mostly, I forget where I put my marijuana. I'm not lying. I found hash in my passport one time. That's not a good idea. Don't hide the hash in your passport. That's the first place they look. Can we see your passport? No. I will race you to the embassy right now. Kind of fast because I smoke weed. Thank you. If you do smoke a lot of weed, if marijuana is no longer a hobby, if it's a lifestyle, you have to be kind of proactive. And I know it sounds weird, a proactive weed smoker, but it's true. There's some steps you can take. Like for instance, when it's time to renew my driver's license picture, I get high as hell. You feel me? I pull into the parking lot of the DMV and I hotbox my car. Like I got 3 or 4 other motherfuckers sitting next to me. Then I go take my picture because I want them to think that I look like that all the goddamn time. Right. That way when they pull me over, what seems to be the trouble? You can go, sir. I love marijuana. It used to be legal. Until 1937, the founding fathers, Jefferson, Washington, all those guys, they grew it, they smoked it. The Declaration of Independence, originally written on hemp paper. Hemp, marijuana, pot. Makes better paper than trees, better fabric than cotton, and you can smoke it and talk about shit. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Write that down. We'll forget, don't forget. That's why John Hancock's signature is so big. He was fucked up. Hell yeah, I'll sign that shit. Hell yeah. Look, 1 foot. Cock. They smoke weed. Ben Franklin smoked all the weed. He did. He's out flying kites in a thunderstorm, high as hell. Dude, I have a theory. Fuck that. It's gonna work. He invented bifocals. Just showed up. Woo, check it out. It's like a kaleidoscope. The national bird is the bald eagle. What bird did Ben Franklin want for the national bird? The turkey. Stoner. Ben, the eagle flies graceful, free, and majestic above the clouds. Yeah, but you can eat a turkey, brother. There's John Hancock. Shit, I'll sign for that. I'm fucking starving.
What's this for?
My name is Russ Belville. I'm the 420 Radio and High Times Magazine.
Fine, perfect.
Do 24-hour news on legalization.
Very good.
We're here with Sir Richard Branson from the Virgin Empire, I guess we could call it, and thank you for coming here to St. Paul and speaking with us today. We just saw the film Breaking the Taboo, and one of the major elements that was a part of this was the corruption and the money being spent and a lot of the money being made by the drug cartels. However, we recently saw the big bank HSBC was found guilty of laundering about $9 billion in drug cartel money. How much of this war on drugs owes to high finance, the big banking industries, and do you see any way of breaking this war on drugs without addressing that issue?
I haven't given it a lot of thought, to be honest. We've concentrated on whether or not the current war is doing damage to people or not doing damage to people. And the Global Commission on Drugs has come out very clearly in saying that far more damage is being done to people by the current approach than by changing it to a different approach. And what we're arguing is that drugs should be treated as a health problem, not a criminal problem, and that we shouldn't be locking up our children, we shouldn't be locking up our brothers and sisters, and we shouldn't be locking up other people's children and brothers and sisters. We should be helping them get back, get back on a normal path. And I think if we do that, and we take drugs away from the cartels, then the problems you mentioned with both banks and the cartels should go away, and we should be able to concentrate on helping that small minority of people who have issues.
We saw in the film a lot of movement in South America and Central America where the leaders there, it used to be just once they got out of office they would address this problem. Now the President of Colombia addressing it in office. What do you see, is that pressure from the Organization of American States having an effect on Washington, D.C., and to some extent Ottawa as well? Are they beginning to realize that this is a hemispheric problem that needs to be addressed?
I hope so. I mean, I think the fact that President Obama has not sent in the federal authorities to close down Washington State, having voted the legalization of marijuana, indicates that that he would like to see some experiments, and he'd like to see the public's reaction to that. And so my feeling is that it could well spill over from South America to North America and to the rest of the world.
Yeah, we'd like to see that. And we saw President Clinton in the movie referring to his brother Roger having a cocaine addiction problem, and many people that I interview that are involved in trying to end the war on drugs, there's a personal aspect to it. Is there a personal aspect to this for you that was the aha moment that made you want to get involved with this? I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot on your plate. What made you want to get involved with this?
Well, I've having run a record company for many years, I've seen, I've lost artists. Somebody was talking about the Sex Pistols earlier. Sid Vicious was a heroin addict. We've nearly lost other artists. Boy George from Culture Club, we very nearly lost. And I've obviously tried to help people who've got problems, and the police is intervening with us helping to get them. And Boy George was arrested in my home when he was actually when we had him there under treatment. Set him back by 4 or 5 years, and finally got himself clean. So yes, I think that those of us who've had personal experience in situations like this are better able to, I think, to understand the problem than those who haven't.
With the example of Portugal in Europe, just so close, and the Netherlands, we're still seeing in the UK what we call in America reefer madness. I mean, Professor Nutt lost his job by saying ecstasy was safer than horseback riding, for example. Are you making efforts in Europe as well, and how are the parliaments and various legislative bodies in France, Britain, Germany reacting to this message of breaking the taboo?
Well, the Global Commission on Drugs has met with the House of Commons Select Committee, and the House of Commons Select Committee came out with a report after that saying that the policy needs to be changed, and we're hopeful that policy will be changed. Britain is better than quite a few countries in that we are, although it's not actually written in law, by and large, drugs are treated as a health problem, not a criminal problem, and There are a lot of needle exchange centres in Britain, but there's further they could go.
While the United States has driven a lot of this drug war, much of it's tied in with international treaties and the UN level, do you feel that the other community of nations, the European community, the South American community, can make this change without the United States getting involved, or is the United States going to have to be a part of this?
Look, ideally, as many countries as possible should be a part of it, and I think that in some ways the United States is actually moving quite quickly with things like the medical marijuana centres, cropping up throughout America, and so I think by de facto, United States in some areas is actually moving quicker than some other countries, and therefore it would be very hypocritical of them to continue, I think, with the current stance.
Thank you. And one final question. If a person wanted to get a job with one of the Virgin companies, is there a drug test involved?
I suspect for our pilots, or our astronauts, but
Yes.
I doubt for any other position in Virgin.
Well, good luck with the Global Commission. Thank you for
very
sitting
much.
down with us, and I hope
Pleasure.
Virgin Galactic takes off soon, because I want to go.
Well, it will be, and I look forward to getting you up there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
And would it be all right if I got a...
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com.
We must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale.
And one major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant.
Welcome back, everyone. 47 after the hour, and today I got to debut my first of what are to be twice weekly columns on hightimes.com entitled Radical Rant. Twice a week I'll be giving you my opinion, asking your opinion, and delivering the news in my column at hightimes.com. And today's column was entitled, What's Your Legalization Deal Breaker? And it goes like this. A 5-foot by 5-foot home garden? That's bullshit! Exclaimed the young man wearing the No on Prop 19 t-shirt. It was Election Day 2010, and I was covering the historic California vote on marijuana legalization for my radio show. But these weren't church ladies or drug rehabbers or cops or pharmaceutical reps or anyone else you'd associate with being anti-marijuana legalization. These were the kind of long-haired, laid-back guys I'd normally share a joint with. It was the first time I had seen the phenomenon I've come to call stoners against legalization. Oh, they had all their reasons. Prop 19's 25-square-foot home garden provision was too small. So what, 0 legal square feet or better? Prop 19 would establish a monopoly where you could only buy legal weed in Oakland. So what, no legal places to buy weed or better? Prop 19 would encourage the feds to come in and raid the shit out of medical marijuana. You mean like what happened after Prop 19 didn't pass? None of their reasons made much sense, other than the one they didn't mention. Legalized weed meant competition for dispensaries and illegal growers. Prop 19 didn't pass, and the stoners against legalization in California were jubilant. Now we can get ready for 2012, when we'll put true legalization on the ballot. And as you know, that didn't happen in 2012 or in 2014, and it's not necessarily a lock for 2016 either. In 2012, legalization was on the ballot in Colorado and Washington. There was some stoners against legalization activity in Colorado, with some vague complaints about overtaxation and overregulation. But the real wailing was in Washington, where a confrontational dispensary-funded group called No on I-502 took root. Now, to be fair, Washington's I-502 had some odious regulations. It mandated an unscientific 5 nanogram per se DUID. It legalized personal possession of marijuana, but not home cultivation. It set taxation levels far too high. But those arguments didn't sway the majority, and legalization happened in Washington state. It's still a bit of a hot mess in the Evergreen State. Licensing was handled poorly, prices are still too high, the medical marijuana Wild West is being tamed. But it has generally been positive. Thousands fewer arrests were made. The prediction of mass stoner DUIs didn't happen. And the state made some tax revenue. In 2014, Oregon and Alaska had learned lessons from Colorado and Washington and crafted better legalization initiatives. Yet, even in 2014, there were pockets of stoners against legalization who moaned that the initiatives didn't immediately free all the pot prisoners. And won't that be easier when their crime isn't a crime anymore? They complained that the initiatives don't allow enough home-grow plants. And again, what, 0 plants is somehow better? They complained that the Liquor Commission would be in charge of marijuana rather than criminals and gangsters. And now, in 2015, the stoners against legalization are in Ohio, where a group is proposing a marijuana legalization constitutional amendment that makes the 10 campaign funders the only commercial marijuana growers in the state. Some folks are furious about this, vowing to defeat this legalization proposal because there is better true legalization proposal coming along for the next election. Just like the No on Prop 19 people told me at Oaksterdam in 2010. So I'm curious, what's your legalization deal breaker? For me, anything that reduces the arrests of people for possessing marijuana is worth voting for. Legalization means that marijuana isn't contraband, which means it is no longer probable cause for a cop to mess with me if he or his dog sees or smells it. If a cop knocks on my door and I answer it with a smoldering joint on my lips, and our conversation ends with the cop leaving without me in handcuffs and without my joint, marijuana's legal. Finally, if Kevin Sabet would vote against it, I'm voting for it. But I wonder what's your legalization deal breaker? Would you vote against a marijuana legalization initiative if it didn't include home grow? How about if legalization didn't allow pot shops or collectives of any kind, kind of like Washington, D.C.? How about if a legalization included a per se DUID limit? What about if it were ridiculously expensive fees? So you had to have, say, $50,000 non-refundable application fee just to apply to be a pot shop or a grower. How about if legalization banned concentrates? Not just homemade concentrates, but you couldn't get concentrates in the stores or anywhere. Concentrates were illegal. How about state-run grows and stores? You know, like the state-run liquor store model. Would that be okay? Would you vote against that? What about if this legalization came with ridiculously high taxes? Let's say 50% tax on marijuana. Would you vote against it? How about legalization that doesn't free any of the pot prisoners? You know, like every legalization that's been voted on so far has not addressed the pot prisoners. What if the legalization, like what they're proposing in Ohio, required personal grower licenses? If you wanted to home grow, you had to get a license. How about if just to possess marijuana, you had to get a license? What if they set the age limit for legalization not at 21, but at age 25? Would that cost your vote on legalization? You can send me your responses in the chat room if you like. You can call in live at 84-420 radio in our hour 2 if you'd like to talk about it. Or you can send me an email, russ@radicalruss.com. I'm going to take the responses I get, and they'll be a part of my Radical Rant column at hightimes.com on Friday. Make sure to check that out at hightimes.com. Now, obviously, none of those things I listed would be a deal breaker for me. And it's interesting to me because I think one of the problems that happens is that people compare the legalization they're offered to the legalization they want, rather than comparing the legalization they're offered to the prohibition they have. And that's why all my responses are like, what, 5x5 garden's too small? What, it's bigger than 0? Currently, your legal garden is 0. Oh, 4 plants, that's not enough. Well, currently your legal plants are 0. Oh, well, it doesn't let me become a pot shop. It doesn't let me be a commercial grower. You're not allowed to be a commercial grower now. So every time I get a complaint about a legalization, unless you can show me that it makes something worse than what it is now, I don't understand not voting for it. Now, I could probably craft up an idea of legalization that I wouldn't support. Let's say that a legalization was offered up that made possession of less than an ounce absolutely legal, but made possession of more than an ounce a felony with a mandatory 1-year sentence. I'd vote against that. I'd be against that. Because currently, in just about every state, except for Arizona or Florida, possession of an up to an ounce is just going to be a misdemeanor. I shouldn't say just, because misdemeanors are still serious. And possession of over an ounce in a lot of states, and almost all of them, isn't a felony unless it's like a second offense or we start getting into the kilogram range or quarter pound range, I should say. So that would be a situation where you'd be making felons out of people that are currently misdemeanor criminals. You'd be making it worse. And there I could find an argument to vote against that sort of legalization. But any sort of argument against legalization that's crafted on the idea that something better is just around the corner is one that you should definitely be wary of. Nothing is certain in politics. This idea that, well, you didn't make it this time, you'll just be on the ballot next time, is pretty rare. We did it in Oregon. I got to say, we did do it in Oregon. When we failed in 2012, we did manage to get it on the ballot in 2014 again. But I don't think that's the standard that we should be depending on. Getting a chance to vote on marijuana legalization is a very rare thing still. If my calculations are right, it's only been voted on at the state level 11 times in history. I might be off on that number. I'm going to have to recount, but it's very few since the 1970s. If you get a chance to vote on marijuana legalization, you can't make your decision based on maybe something better is coming next year. Maybes don't keep people out of prison. We need to make sure that every chance we get to vote on legalization, every chance we get to move forward, every chance we get to keep people out of jail is a chance we have to take. And I do believe that getting it legal is the most important thing, because right now in your state where marijuana is illegal, you are fighting from the position of being a criminal. You are a criminal fighting to take drugs. But once you get marijuana legal, you are a citizen fighting for expanded access to a product. It's no longer contraband. It's no longer evil. It's just another product. And you are just another consumer. It is so much easier to fight for changes in the law as a consumer than as a criminal. And especially if we are allowed to begin marijuana-related businesses that build our political capital and our financial capital to fight for legalization and to fight for further equalization, the better off we all are. That's all the time we got for hour 1, but we'll continue this topic in hour 2. Plus, we got some other topics. Going to talk about Rand Paul, Ohio legalization, Harry Anslinger, Billie Holiday, and stupid parents. I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you